Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Welcome back. I am live here at the Tailored Expression Studio. I am getting a better handle on keeping track of the days. It's Thursday at 1 o'clock. Hopefully you remembered and you guys are gonna pop in here soon. So tell me hello as you get jumping on here. And just a little announcement at the beginning. If you guys are watching live now in the full screen, you can actually click to be notified every time we go live. So that's going to be up in the right hand corner of your screen. So in the upper right, you can click and it will notify you anytime we go live. So you'll get one of those notifications, whether you're on your phone or your iPad, whatever you happen to be watching on. You can also do this another way. So on our fan page and our Tailored Expressions page, every time I have a live event, Charlie creates an event on the Facebook page. So if you click on there that you're going to the live event, then it will notify you, I think about an hour ahead of time, that Tailored Expressions is going to be live soon. So if you want to make sure that you're not missing out on anything here, or if you have a forgetful brain like me and you need those notifications, you can do that. So just a quick notification for you guys there on how to do that. And also, I would love it if you would share the video today. So if you have a crafty group or a crafty page that you're a part of and you think people there might like to see what I have going on, I would love you to invite them. So share our live videos. I love to share Tailored Expressions with as many people as we can. So looks like we've got lots of you coming in. Hi, Martha and Cherry. Hi, Beth, Arlene. Oh, awesome. Lots of you from all over. Let's see, we've got Cedar Falls, Seattle, Charlotte, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, Wisconsin, Marshalltown, Iowa, Michigan, Nova Scotia. I love it. All over. Awesome. Well, good to see you guys. Glad you guys are here today because we have some fun things to talk about. So a couple of, usually I like to start with just what's going on around TE, and lately, it seems like something new is happening all the time. So I wanted you guys to know I did a video, like I mentioned last time. I was on vacation last week. I did a video live from the lake, and in that video, I talked about the new Misty and all of the cool upgrades that Ileana made to this Misty. And let's see, I have one right here. I have one in my hot little hands, and actually we have a lot of these now available on the Tailored Expressions website. So these came in last week, I think, while I was still on vacation, and so wanted to let you guys know that we do have the Misty 2.0 now in the store, and you can grab it from Tailored Expressions. So if, probably not today, but in a future video, I will tell you again about these features, but you can read about them all on the website as well. So also, I forgot to tell you on Tuesday, but we did launch an additional discount on our retirement sale. So it's been about maybe about a month ago since we launched our retirement sale. Every July we have a retirement sale. It's always a little bittersweet for me to let some of those products go, but I know they're going to good homes. And we started the sale at 30, 40, and 50% off. And earlier this week we marked down that category to 40, 50, and 60% off. So you can head to the website, check out the retirement sale category, because once those items are gone, they are not coming back again. And then you guys were here on Tuesday. We talked about the new grid paper placemats and our cute little desktop notepads for keeping your crafty chaos in order. So this week was our desktop essentials release, and you can see it down here in front of me. I'll be using my placemat again today as we talk about Gamsol and blending our colored pencil colored images with Gamsol. So I'm excited to share with you guys a little bit more about that. I've been coloring with Gamsol since I picked up stamps. It was something that was easier for me to get into than Copic markers, and then as I got into the alcohol-based markers a little bit more, I set my Gamsol aside, but I do still grab it. It's a really easy technique to master, I think. So I'm excited to share with you guys some of the tips and tricks that I have found useful. And also we have a Gamsol kit at Tailored Expressions that gives you everything you need besides the colored pencils. You'd have to provide those and the cute stamps to color in, but it provides everything you need in order to get started with Gamsol coloring. So should we get started? I am gonna get you guys down so you can see in front of me here. and we will get started on the coloring. So I have a few things here. All right, let's see. Oh, good. Tina says she got some of our clearance items in the beginning. Yep, you can still get some more if there's things that you left behind. And Rita, I'm so glad you like the grid paper placemat. We tried to incorporate lots of fun features and some unique ideas, hopefully that will make your crafting easier and also keep your area cleaner. So today though, we are going to talk about Gamsol. So I have my Gamsol here. I purchased this at a craft supply store. I think this bottle might actually be from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's 16 ounces and I have had it since I started stamping probably 15 years ago. So Gamsol is an odorless mineral spirit. It evaporates really quickly, and so what you use it to do is blend the colored pencil coloring out so you can get a light to dark effect similar to exactly what you would get with a Copic marker. And you apply it with a paper stump, and then you use those paper stumps. Once you use them, you can use a sanding block to sand the color off of your stumps. And I'll go through that a little bit more in a little bit, but I want to show you exactly what comes in our Gansol kit. So when you purchase the Gamsol kit from Tailored Expressions, this is what you'll get in a cute little box here, and everybody in the office likes to joke with me because when we put this Gamsol kit out years ago, I did a little video and we put this inside, and so I said it's like a little party in your box, and then I went party, party, and so now whenever we put these together, everybody in the back likes to tease me and say party. So anyway, we have a little party in your box with just some, you can save this and use it for a gift wrapping, but it just keeps the things inside from moving around too much, and that's why we put it in there. And of course, we do it in fun TE-like colors. But let me get all that stuff out of the way here, and then we will talk through the other items in this kit. All right, that is the one thing I don't like about this paper scrunch, is it kind of gets everywhere. But it's better than packing peanuts, in my opinion. All right, so we've got all of our elements of the kit here. Now, as we get to using this, you'll see how each of these is important for the technique of coloring with Gamsol. One of the things, probably besides the Gamsol, the most important thing that you have are the paper stumps. Now the kit we have comes with 4 different sizes of the paper stumps. You can see here, this is my container of paper stumps, and I, over the years, have collected a lot of them in a lot of different sizes, and I just keep them all in this tub, and then they're right there when I'm ready to use them. So the kit comes with 4 though. That's enough for you to get started. And you can always sand, like I mentioned, the color off of the pencil or the blending stump so that you don't necessarily have to have a separate stump for every different color that you're using. So these are the paper stumps. Then the sanding block that I mentioned, this is the one that I have that's already used. Now if I share with you, let me grab one of my stumps. You can see here it's got some blue on the end of it. If I want to get that off, I recommend holding your stump at an angle like this so that it's flat on the paper or on the sandpaper, and then rubbing until that color comes off. Now by holding it in this way, you are going to avoid getting a flat tip on your stump. So if you were to take your stump and just rub it flat on the surface, you're going to get a flat stump. So by angling this while you sand it, you're going to keep your stump nice and pointy as it gets shorter and shorter. I've got this end here that has some red on it, so we'll just kind of get that off as well. Rotate it around as I'm rubbing it on that sandpaper. Now over time, if your stump does lose its pointiness, you can do a couple of different things. You can take maybe an X-Acto knife and kind of scrape at it to get it back to a point. That's what I typically do, but usually as long as I'm rubbing at an angle like this and keeping that angled portion flat against my sanding paper, I don't usually have to worry about getting a flat point and then having to resharpen it. So that's the sanding block. It comes with several different pieces. Let's see, I'll show you guys here. There's multiple sheets in here, so when one of them just loses its texture and you need to rip it off, you can kind of just rip that off and start using the next one. I think there's maybe 20, 15, 10, something like that on here. Anyway, it lasts you a long time. So you get that. And then this is kind of what I have always used for my Gamsol, is a double-walled jar with a sponge. Now I'll pull mine in here. Mine is a lot older looking, but I've been using this since I started stamping, so you shouldn't need to replace this. We give you this jar and sponge so that you can pour your Gamsol onto the sponge. You can see mine is a little bit aged looking, dirty, I guess, but you can then take your stump, just press it into the sponge that has the Gamsol on it, and it will wet your stump, so then you can take it and use it to blend your color. So as you are deciding, the Gamsol kit also comes with a jar with 2 ounces of Gamsol in it. And this is the Gamblin Gamsol brand. We have just repackaged it into this smaller amount because, like I said at the beginning, I have had this jar for 15 years. It's still probably about half full, I would say. So you really don't use a ton of Gamsol, and I found that 2 ounces is plenty to get you started. Of course, you can go off to the craft store like Michael's or a Hobby Lobby and find this in the fine arts section as well if you want more. But when you get this, you'll want to take this jar and pour some of it onto your sponge. The important part is that you don't really need to pour the entire jar onto your sponge. The whole idea of having your Gamsol in a jar like this is to keep it contained so that you're not spilling it everywhere, you're not worried about tipping it over. And what I do is I don't want to be able to pour any Gamsol out of my jar. So just in case I do tip it over, I'm not, getting any of that wetness all over my work surface. So that's the beauty of the sponge. Don't just go and take your whole jar and pour it onto the sponge. You want to test it out, pour some and then push it onto the sponge with a stump and see if you get kind of a little bit of wetness there, if it moistens your stump enough to be able to blend out your color. So that is what you get in the Gamsol kit, and for, I'm not sure if I mentioned the price already, but the price is $12 on that. And I know I already said this, but a reminder that your Gamsol is really, really quick to evaporate. So you do not want to leave this open if you're not working with the Gamsol at the time. You want to close that jar. My lid's a little fussy, but you want to close that jar up anytime you're not working with it, because it will evaporate into the air, and then every time you use it, you'll have to put more Gamsol on, and then you probably will need a big bottle like this. But as long as you have it in your airtight container, it is not going to go anywhere for you. You can just use it up as you open it up. I have not, I guess I did add some Gamsol to this before we were on the live just to make sure I had enough in there, but prior to that, it was still moist, and I had not added any Gamsol for, oh gosh, how long has it been since I've used this technique? It's been a few months since I've tried coloring with the Gamsol. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? Let's talk about this for a second. So I brought this in. This is not something we sell at Tailored Expressions, but I love this pencil sharpener for my Prismacolor pencils. I got it on Amazon. It's a T-Gall. I'm not sure if I'm saying that the right way, but this is one that I would highly recommend. You can adjust it so you can get a really, really fine point on your colored pencils, and it's really a good pencil sharpener. I know that's a hard thing to find for people, so I found a good one and I like it. I believe actually Debbie Hughes was the one who recommended this, and of course she's a coloring genius, and so I thought if I buy the pencil sharpener that Debbie Hughes uses, then maybe I could be like just a fraction as good as she is. Isn't that what, I don't know, that I know that's funny thinking, but that I figured if it works for Debbie, it works for me. So that is the pencil sharpener that I recommend. So somebody asked if there is a smell to the mineral spirits. Nope, they are odorless, and so you can work around them with no scent if you're averse to certain scents or really sensitive to that. You shouldn't have any problems with the mineral spirits. They are odorless. So, all right, let's talk about the actual technique of coloring. I want to put these away because I have my own stumps here and I don't want to be using those up. Okay, so I've got a few images here. We'll talk a little bit about the stamping and what you can use to stamp and color on. So I have here our sugar cube cardstock. I've mentioned this probably a million times before, but our cardstock is super smooth and it works great for every application. So it's our alcohol marker friendly cardstock. It works great for Gamsol. The only thing I wouldn't recommend this cardstock for is watercolor. You should use a watercolor cardstock for that. But for every other coloring medium, this is my choice. The super smooth texture here is going to make it really easy to pull that color out with the Gansol. And then again, the ink does make a difference for what you want to use with your Gamsol. So I have used the Tailored Expressions Oreo ink pad. It's a hybrid ink. Again, it's one of those works for everything type of inks. So it's waterproof, so you can watercolor with it. It's Copic marker compatible, so you can use it with that, and it works great for your Gamsol coloring as well. Okay, so let's see. The colored pencils, that's another thing that you'll need if you want to do this technique. I use Prismacolor pencils, and if you don't already have these, I would recommend, my suggestion is just go ahead and get the full set. I believe the full set comes with 120 pencils, and you will not regret having the color variation that it comes in that full set. Rather than buying the smaller sets of 12 or 24, just go for the broke and get yourself a full set of the pencils. So Prismacolor pencils are a wax-based pencil lead, which makes them really easy to blend with the Gamsol. I always get questions about whether other pencils like Crayola colored pencils or more of the cheaper brands like that will work with the Gamsol. I believe they will. However, they don't have the pigmentation that you get. These are really bright, vibrant colors. And so I think you're going to be happier with the results of a fine art colored pencil like the Prismacolor pencils than you would over a Crayola. But if you're just getting started and you want to try that, then give it a go. Also, people usually ask whether watercolor pencils will work. Again, I don't think you're going to get the exact look that you would from a wax-based pencil with a watercolor pencil, but you can certainly try that if you have it and you want to give it a try. So, okay, so with these colored pencils, let me show you. I'm going to zoom you guys in here so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Okay, so let's start with red. How about that? I am going to grab a couple different reds here, and what I like to do, this is another great use for our placemat, is just color them out on my placemat so I can get an idea of how light or dark they are. Sometimes it's hard to tell from the actual pencil lead itself. They all look kind of similar. So I think this one actually that I just grabbed is going to be the first red that I want to use. So typically how I do it is I start with the area that I want to be shadowed. So over here on, let's say, the left side of the F, I'm giving a good amount of pressure here, and I'm adding that red colored pencil down the left side. Now this is going to be the darkest part of my letter when I finish. Then I'm going to grab my Gamsol jar here and my paper stump. I'm going to grab a little bit smaller tip there. And then this is where the magic happens. I can just dip that into the Gamsol and then start to feather that out from the edge of the red that I put down. And then as you feel like you need a little bit more Gamsol to get it to move a little bit better. Sometimes I do a circular motion with it, and sometimes I do more of a kind of pulling the color. I do think the circular motion gives me a little bit more control and allows me to pull the color a little bit farther. All right, and so kind of like what you would do with your Copic markers, then you can come in with the darker color. Forgot which one. I think this is the one that I wanted to go with. You can come in and layer the colors together. So you can add the next darker color in those shaded areas, and then you can blend that out. So you're going to have that same dark to light effect that you get with the Copics. And a lot of times, especially for someone who is really amazingly skilled at this, you can hardly tell the difference between what is Copic colored and what is pencil colored. So if I keep grabbing that from this side and pulling it towards the opposite side, you guys see the shading there? And really it's not too tough to master. So then once I have my light to dark, I might come in again with that darker pencil and add my last bit of shading just in the corners here. If you want to pull that color out, you can a little bit, or you can leave it. I think I might leave that top corner so that it's extra dark. And this bottom one, I might just pull out just a touch here. Then I can keep adding some of that lighter red. Now, if I do want, let's just say I want a little bit more, if you guys can see here. So the right side of my letter has a little bit of white space in it. So if I want to add a lighter version of color over there, I just color more lightly. So I need maybe a little bit more red over here. I'm just gonna very lightly color over that area, and then I can go back and blend again to get kind of, the blending erases the striations of the color. So the streak marks, I guess, is what I would call it, that you get when you place down color with colored pencil. All right. Is there any cleaning that has to be done to the stumps between colors? I did cover the cleaning of the stumps with the sanding block here. That's what you're going to use to clean the stumps off. Typically, I do try to wait for my stumps to dry before I get the color off of them, but I'll go over that again here in just a second. You just hold that blending stump against your sanding paper block and go back and forth on it until you've rubbed that color off of the tip. As long as you're holding it at an angle to your stump, or to your to your sanding block, then you're going to keep that point on your stump and you're not going to have to worry about that. You don't want to take your stump and go back and forth flat on top of it, because you're going to make that point, that nice point that you have, you're going to make it flat, and you don't want to do that. So just make sure you're holding it at an angle as you're going back and forth on that stump to get the color off. So that's the only cleaning that needs to be done to these stumps. Now, after I have wet it with the Gamsol, it does take a little bit to dry. So I usually, if I'm moving to a different color, I usually use a different end of the stump or grab a new stump before I start my next color. All right, so then let's grab an orange. We'll keep going here. Grab, you guys get where I'm going already, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. This is, what set is this from? Charlie, my memory. I can't remember the name of this set, but it has super cute sentiments in it. Very large and nice for practicing Gamsol blending because it gives you a really good open space to work within. So I'm going to start with kind of a lighter orange here. Again, I'm going to take that color and put it towards the left side, which is where my shadowing is going to rest mostly, and down here at the base of the letters. And then I'm going to take the other end of my blending stump and I can pull that out. Again, using that circular motion is what I prefer, kind of going round and round on the color to pull it into the center of the image. And then as you feel like you need a little bit more moisture on your blending stump, you just place it back into your Gamsol sponge and then continue blending. What do you guys think? How many of you have tried or done a lot of Gamsol blending already? Oh yes, you guys helped me out. Thanks, Heather and Charlie. Bubble Greetings is the name of the set that I'm using. So it has Hello Friend, Thank You, and 2 other ones. There's 4 total in the set. So here where the yellow and the red are kind of meeting, I'm going to make that a little bit darker orange color, putting those 2 colors together. And then I'm going to take that darker orange again and add more shadowing. So here's the darker orange color, and if I just, you see how I reduced the amount of space that I covered with the pencil. So I just did a more fine line down the left side there, and then you can pull that out with the paper stump to give it a little bit of color variation to the yellow. Turn it a little bit more orange, but still have that nice light yellow as you get over into the lighter parts of the letter. So you can really spend quite a bit of time on an image, but you don't necessarily have to. I'm going to move on to a different image. Of course, I'll finish this one later, or it will go in my junk pile that you guys heard about on Tuesday's video. I have this whole basket of half-colored or just backgrounds blended and watercolored and random pieces that I did not ever get a chance to use. So one of the other things I love to do with Gamsol is color on craft cardstock. I'm sure this is something that Heather does often because she loves craft cardstock. This is our toffee cardstock, and again, I've stamped it with the Oreo ink. And this is from our beautiful Blossom set that Heather illustrated for our release for Mother's Day earlier this year. I love the fine detail on this pretty image, and I'm going to color off here on my placemat. I was kind of trying to go for more of an olive looking color, but I don't think I grabbed my whole collection of pencils here. Oh no, I found it. Here's my olive, but that doesn't look very good. So let's try here, and we're going to put our T-Gal to work. T-Gal. Deber says we have to see this junk pile. Someday I will allow you to see it. I think I need a bigger basket because really it's just one of those small little card-sized baskets, and it's overflowing now. So the side of the basket is like this tall, and my junk pile is like overflowing out of it. Someday I will share it with you, not today. Okay, so yeah, you're right. One man's trash is another man's treasure, right? You guys might enjoy my junk pile. We talked about on Tuesday doing some kind of a challenge that could be fun to send out some of my junk pile stuff and see what you guys would make from it. Kind of like a little chopped competition or something like that. You have to use the ingredients in the basket. So again, I just added the darkness of the color with a pretty heavy hand, so I'm pressing pretty hard with my pencil so that I can add a good amount of that color before I start to blend it out. I don't know why I grabbed this giant blending stump. I want something a little smaller for the fine image here, and then we can pull that out towards the top of each of the leaves. Another fun thing that I like to do often is layer my colored pencil with Copic. So you can lay down your first layer of color using Copics, and then you can come in with your pencils and blend them out with the Gamsol over the top of your Copic coloring. So you can see on the craft paper here that when I do wet it with the Gamsol, it does soak into the paper, but up here where I've already finished, it's now dry. So that's how fast it evaporates to the air, and it won't leave this darkened effect that you see here at the bottom. It's gonna look more like this one up here where it's dry. So you can just see the color of the pencil and not the darkness of the Gamsol soaked into the cardstock. So it takes maybe about, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds for that to evaporate off of the cardstock. So even if you go outside of the lines a little bit with your Gamsol, you're not going to see that, as long as you don't go outside the lines with your color. All right, what's the purpose of the different size stumps? Good question. It's because a lot of times you have different size images. So if you're using a really intricate image and you want to be able to get into a small spot, you'll want to use a smaller stump like this one, or I think this one is actually the smallest one that I have. Sorry, I'm not holding it in the camera very well there. So this one is the smallest one that I have. It's a number 1. Some brands number them, some of them put them in, like this one says 1/4 inch. But yeah, they come in different sizes. If you had a very large space that you wanted to cover, you could use something bigger like that. All right, do I use the same circular motion with Copics? I actually do, yes. When I color, usually when I'm laying down my first layer of Copic, I will use circular motion to apply that color. And then if you watched my video today on the Tailored Expressions blog, I'll just show you. This is the card that's on the blog video today. It uses our layering stencil, which is on sale this week, all of our layering stencils. But you can see on this particular project, I used a flicking motion with my Copic marker to add those details. So sometimes I'll do a circular motion if I'm laying down the first layer of color, or to add detail and dimension, I will often use a flicking motion with my Copics. You guys have lots of good questions today. All right, so I added a little bit darker colored pencil to the base of that leaf, and now I'm going to blend that up towards the edges, and then the leaves can be done. But you guys see how pretty it looks on the craft cardstock too. You get a really nice variation in the color even over the craft, and it looks beautiful blended there. Okay, now here is where I might not use my Gamsol. So you can see my image here, and these stems are really thin. So I don't want to risk getting a lot of color outside of that. When I go in, even with my smallest stump, I could risk getting some of that color kind of boo-booed outside the lines. So what I would do there is just take my colored pencil, make sure it has a nice sharp fine point, and then just color the stem in without any need for blending it out. Now maybe some others would do it a little bit differently, but I never want to risk ruining my beautiful project if I don't have to. So I find that coloring in these fine details and leaving them without the blend of the Gamsol works a little bit better for me. All right. So, what do you guys think? You excited to try this? I think it is super fun, and again, I mentioned this earlier, but it's a lot easier to master something like this and practice your shading using the Prismacolor pencils and the Gamsol. I do find it easier than the Copic markers that have a little bit more of a learning curve with the numbering system and figuring out what to do first and how to add your shadows and your layers and blend those all together. So there really is no learning curve. You can pick this up and yours can look just like this the first time you do it. So I'm going to stick the lid back on here. It looks like Charlie and Heather have been helping you guys with all your questions, but feel free to ask if you have any more. I am going to get this. Okay, here we are. We're back. Okay, I hope you guys learned something new from that. It looks like you did. You've got, some of you have got it already added to your order. So we do have those grid paper placemats, the layering stencils 15% off this week, and then the retirement sale and the new Misty. So lots of new stuff going on at the Tailored Expressions web store. So thanks for coming by today. I will see you again on Tuesday. I don't yet have a inkling of what we're going to talk about because we are waiting for some products to come in. So we will see. I'm hoping that we can talk about the simple strip storage on Tuesday, but don't get your hopes up too much. So if you guys could all everybody just cross your fingers. The delivery methods for all of this stuff that comes from overseas is a lot out of our control. So I would really prefer to use a service that has a tracking number, but there are no tracking numbers for boat shipments. So anyway, hopefully, if we're not talking about simple strip storage or our new simple storage collection as a whole, if we're not talking about that on Tuesday, then I will have something else. So come back and see me, and in the meantime, get out your Gamsol if you have it and try some coloring. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. Have a great afternoon. Bye.